broadcasts. Yes, good evening and welcome back to the Football Tribe UG channel. Robert Kesakos is your usual suspect. Welcome back to yet another live broadcast on your favorite football channel. That's at Football Tribe UG. Hope you've had a wonderful Monday. Happy Heroes Day to all Ugandans out there. I know it's been Heroes Day for you and elsewhere. I don't know if it was any special day for any of our people out there, but I hope you did enjoy your Monday. I really hope you did enjoy your Monday. That's my hope for you. That's my hope for you as we get into this Monday late night broadcast, in which we'll be discussing Manchester City, Man United, Arsenal, and that and more. So in regards to their pursuits, and as far as the transfer window is concerned. So that's what we'll be discussing tonight as you join this broadcast. So all I can say is welcome back to the channel. Allow me test our audios. Do the usual honors, really test our audios and make sure everything is in place or in perfect shape for us to get going for tonight's broadcast. And yeah, that will be our hope. But otherwise, how are you guys doing? How are you guys doing? Is everyone all right? I think our audios are good to go. I think we're good on that front. Waiting on you guys to join in to what, 2 minutes into the broadcast, and you've not yet joined. I'll be patient. I'll wait. Thank you to all those that were part of the morning broadcast. Andan, hi Andan, how are you doing? Your name sounds a little Indian. Are you from India? Andan Arredondo. Oh, I got that right. Okay. Looks like I'm not too bad. I'm getting better at this. Guys, kindly like the broadcast, but also consider subscribing to the channel. Support me, help me grow on this journey, on this broadcasting journey. But it's good to have you. Family Challenges. Hi, Family Challenges. What an interesting name. Please consider liking the broadcast, but also please subscribe to the channel. Just do me the kind favor, the only favor, to support me by clicking that subscribe button, so that we can continue to grow our community, but also click that like button on the broadcast. And yeah, help the video be recommended to other people. But more importantly, let's engage. Let's have an interaction. Let me know where you're joining us from. How has your Monday been? How are you doing today? Where are you joining us from? Let's engage before we get into the thick of the conversation for tonight's broadcast, in which we'll be discussing plenty of things. But it's a pleasure to have you really. And Danny, Family Challenge, all those that are, behind there on your screens, that have not yet liked the broadcast, but, still wondering who is this guy. Well, my name is Robert Kesakos, and I'm coming to you live from Kampala, Uganda. That's in Africa. In case you're wondering, it's about 2 minutes past the hour of 11 back here in Uganda. I know in terms of Indian time, it could be about 1 a.m. Depending on what region, what part of India you're from, but I'll go with the assumption that it is around 1 a.m. Much greetings to all of you, our Indian family. Thank you so much for the love and support. You've really supported us on this channel at great length. So your love and support doesn't go unnoticed. Thank you, Prince Nkosi, one of our usual suspects on this channel. John Joseph from Nigeria, Ahmad Septa from Indonesia, Kavinsky, then Maria Momoto, and everyone else that, Explorer, yes. Thank you all, guys, for always being part of this family. And then there's somebody whose name I'm forgetting. But a lot of love and support, really, really, from India, which is much appreciated. And I'll never stop saying this. Knowing that majority of Indian people are cricket fans, usually sort of amuses me when they come on here on the football channel and support me. So I do really, really appreciate them for every little effort that they do render, the time they dedicate to watch our content, engage with us, ask the questions. Yes, some go beyond the scope of the particular topics for which we'll be discussing. But again, in the same breath, it's always really, really appreciated and commendable. So I hope you continue with the love and support as we continue to go on this journey. We are about what? About 1,200 subscribers so far, if my statistics are correct, and that part of majority of, yes, about 1,230 subscribers, and majority of that love and support is from places like India, places like Uganda, of course, the homeland, some fans from Kenya, Nigeria, Indonesia, Pakistan, and and all over the world, really. So I do appreciate that love and support. But anyways, tonight we'll be discussing majority of transfers. I thank you to all those that were part of the early morning broadcast. We did come in at about 9:30 or 35. Yes, about 9:35 there, about in the morning, as opposed to coming to around 10. To be honest, going forward, we're looking to bring that morning broadcast a little much closer, anywhere between 8 and 9:30, thereabout, depending. So we're looking to move things a little up closer to improve on our performances. But thank you so much for the love and support, Team India. Thank you so much, Safa Ali from Turkey. Thank you so much, Boss Royal from the UK. Thank you so much, what's his name? Peter Parker. Thank you so much, James. James is also from India. Then there was another gentleman who was in Iraq. Yes, they're there working, but they did, tune into the channel. Anyways, we've spent the first opening 7 minutes sending our greetings and, shout outs to all those respective channel members that have really, really supported what we do, which is quite commendable, really, to say the least. But let's kick things off, as tonight our topic is going to revolve around transfers. So much news making the rounds. We all know that the first phase of the summer's transfer window shuts down tomorrow. That's June the 10th, because like we've said here many times, is that the window was opened early enough to allow or permit or enable teams that are going to be participating in the FIFA Club World Cup to, recruit some players, maybe let go of certain players in preparation for that particular tournament. And I think it's really, really worked out well for most of those teams. And that's why we'll start our conversation at Manchester City, because they're one of those teams that have really leveraged on this early opening transfer window to their advantage. So they're one of those teams that have really, really taken the advantage of this early transfer window to sign players. And so far, they've made 3 signings, made 1 announcement. One has already completed his medicals, with final details being ironed out, I think doing his media duties before he's unveiled before the Manchester City fans. And then the other, I think, has traveled to the UK to do his medical. And so let's start things at Manchester City, because they have completed the signing of Rayan Ait-Nouri from Wolverhampton Wanderers in a fee, I believe, to be about 43 million euros. With that being the 37 million euros being the guaranteed fees, with 6 million euros in expected add-ons. That's according to multiple sources or online sources. In some cases, you may find that the fee being quoted is in the region of about 38 million euros thereabout. So So usually, figures are not finite, but at least we oftentimes have, a certain way. So the 23-year-old Algerian left back joins Manchester City from Wolverhampton Wanderers. I think he's not the first Manchester City player. Sorry, he's not the first Wolves player to make the switch. In 2023, we did see Matthias Nunes join Manchester City from Wolverhampton Wanderers. I think he did open the door for these kinds of transfers between the two sides. Then, so he does put pen to paper on a 5-year contract that will keep him at the Etihad Stadium until at least June 2030, if everything goes according to plan, and perhaps even beyond. What for me, it's really, really good signing for a player that managed to score, I think, 4 goals and provided 7 assists in 37 appearances last season. The 37 appearances in the Premier League speak to his availability, speaking to his readiness, because usually when teams are signing players, one of the questions that they labor to answer is about the availability of the player in terms of how many injuries does he often suffer, is there any sort of recurring injury issue that he normally struggles with, and that kind of thing. So Rayan Ait-Nouri is one of those players that have been at least physically reliably available for his team and making 37 appearances in the course of last season as far as the Premier League was concerned. And then when it comes to assisting the goals, he really, really does come good, as well as sparing the moment to pop up in the box. He's one of those players that every now and then will pop up in the area and score a goal or make that assist. He loves to make the run into the box, and yet does not seem to struggle running back to do his defensive duties. So quite a brilliant signing for Manchester City there, I must say. Then moving away for Manchester City, staying with Manchester City, but also in speaking about the other signing that they have made, that is Tijjani Reijnders, the 26-year-old, Dutch midfielder from AC Milan. Yes, that deal is also as good as done. The player did travel on Sunday to complete his medicals in the city of Manchester, and that is as good as done as well. But briefly, guys, speaking about his transfer, let's return briefly back to Rayan Ait-Nouri. I don't know, for some reason I skipped this, and yet it was part of my notes. But yes, I wanted to read for you some of the comments that Rayan Ait-Nouri did make after making his switch to Manchester City. He did say, yes, Rayan Ait-Nouri is speaking about his move. He did say that me and Matthias were always together at Wolverhampton Wanderers. We spoke about life in Manchester. I'm very excited to join Matthias again. Riyad told me to give everything for this club. There is referencing Riyad Mahrez, his fellow countryman on the other side of the aisle, who did play for Manchester City after he joined them from from Leicester City. So I mean, for me, he's quite the scoop. I did watch his interview, and he said while he spoke to Matthias Nunes, particularly they did not speak about the football itself, but rather the kind of life he would be living in Manchester. Hi, Boss Royal. I was just giving you shout outs to you as one of our usual suspects on this channel. Hi, how are you doing? How is life treating you? Any news for us from the ground there? What's weather like in Uganda? Weather like in Uganda, it's been a bit hot these days. It's a bit hot. We're in a dry season at the moment. The same way you guys have summer that side. Usually it's also dry season for us this side. But good to have you back. I hope you're doing well. I hope you've been well. Any news for us from that side of things? Any news from the ground? Anyways, so that's that's Rayan Ait-Nouri completing his move. Quite the scoop for Manchester City, in my opinion. Really, quite a brilliant piece of business. And then, like I was saying, the other player who has completed his move is Tijjani Reijnders, because he did complete his medicals on Sunday, and we do await for his unveiling and the media duties as they usually go down. And the expectation is that he will sign a 5-year contract equally with Manchester City. That's the 26-year-old Dutch midfielder. He does predominantly play as a number 8. So let's wait and see let's wait for his partnership between him and Rodri there. That means if Mateo Kovacic is to stay at the club, then he could spend a good time on the bench really. So let's wait and see how that shapes out. But Tijjani Reijnders is considered a Manchester City player because he has already penned down his contract. Okay. Bosfor Yal is updating us. They are saying Chelsea are looking to hijack the Sesko deal. Yes, I've had those reports that they are looking to hijack that deal because a deal for Benjamin Sesko could be slightly cheaper or even much cheaper as compared to that of Hugo Ekitike, who was their primary target in this transfer window. So that's true. I've also read those reports. So we're just waiting for the official announcement in the case of Tijjani Reijnders because he is a Manchester City player. There's nothing left to be done. Everything is complete in as far as that deal is concerned to the best of our knowledge. So, I mean, he's a very, very good player, despite playing predominantly as a number 8. He can also play as a number 6. He has that capability. And when you look at his statistics from AC Milan last season, he scored 10 goals and provided 4 assists. Hi, Safa Ali, again, as one of the other usual suspects that I was sending out shouts out to earlier on, saying we have missed him for a couple of days, and it's good to hear back from him. What's up, my brother? I hope you're doing well. I'm good on this side, but it's good to have you back. Give us some news from Fenerbahce. I do know that Mourinho wants to sign Leroy Sané. Then there's that ongoing, pursuit of Viktor Osimhen for Galatasaray. I understand they are your rivals, but you could still, update us on that news as well. Since you're on the ground, perhaps you have a bigger ear to the ground in regards to the Turkish league than we are concerned here, because Leroy Sané is yet to agree to a deal with Bayern Munich, and that's why he's being quoted by teams like Fenerbahce. Teams like Tottenham Hotspur have made inquiries about him, as well as Arsenal. He also has interest from the Saudi Pro League. So Safa Ali there, the Fenerbahce fan, as well as Arsenal in the UK and Real Madrid in Spain, will be giving us an update on that as well. So he says Osimhen Al-Hilal offered him a salary of up to 45 million euros, currently pending. Yes, they did offer him a salary of up to 40 million euros with 5 million euros in expected add-ons, but he did turn that down. He rejected to make the move because I do not know whether he really wants to stay in Europe or he's trying to really push them to the line to offer him more money. I mean, we are yet to really understand what the motive is, but there is interest for him in Europe, including Juventus, who have inquired about the conditions. But we all know the conditions, that Napoli simply want his release clause paid, which is up to about 75 million euros, according to online reports. And then in terms of wages, at Napoli, he was at around 12 million euros net. But Galatasaray are willing to break the bank and offer him up to 15 million euros in terms of net pay. But let's wait and see where that does lead. But last I checked, he had turned down a move to Al-Hilal, opting to stay in Europe because he's currently in Nigeria on holiday. And yet Al-Hilal wanted to wrap the deal before the start of the FIFA World Cup. Now, according to recent reports, it's that despite him rejecting Al-Hilal, Al-Hilal have still made a contact with him today to try and see if they can make a last gasp attempt to try and sign him, despite him their own rejecting their offers. So I think that's that's to respond to Safa Ali. But apologies if it forced us to switch topics, but we needed that information really, or that update from Safa Ali, because he is on the ground in Turkey, where they are following matters regarding with transfers there from the Turkish league. But like I said, Tijjani Reijnders is as good as done. Then earlier on today, Manchester City did agree to a fee in the excess of 30 million euros to sign Rayan Cherki from Olympic Lyon. That deal also has been given the green light. The player was allowed to move to the UK to complete his medicals, and he did speak, I think, prior to the third place playoff game again between France and Germany, which they went on to win, by the way, by 2-0, with Kylian Mbappe and Michael Olise scoring that one. That, yeah, he was only waiting for the green light to go to the UK and do his medicals. That the deal was on. He pretty much outrightly confirmed that. And today, Manchester City reached that agreement. The player has flown to Manchester to complete his medicals, and they did already agree to personal terms on a 5-year contract. So again, that one is equally pending an announcement. So those are the 3 Manchester City signings in Rayan Ait-Nouri, Tijjani Reijnders, and Rayan Cherki that we do expect, players we do expect will be part of their squad for the FIFA Club World Cup in the United States of America. That does kick off on the 15th of June. So meanwhile, Manchester City, of course, their negotiations with Newcastle over Tino Livramento have not really made much headway, because Newcastle are reluctant to sell. They do not want to sell Tino Livramento, but Man City do want him as their preferred choice for a right back. So we'll keep tabs on that story as well. But for now, let's look further to some of Safa Ali's submissions in regards to the news. Safa Ali says if Fenerbahce cannot make it to the Champions League this season, the board may resign. I do not think so. But there has been no success for 7 years. You're right. Yes. So I don't. Maybe anyway. Anything can happen with football. Although I do not have doubts that Mourinho will be able to guide Fenerbahce to Champions League football. But more importantly, wants to build a team that goes on to once again challenge Galatasaray in that Turkish league, and be not just title contenders, but also elevate them from that second place to be eventual champions. I mean, that's the objective. That's the goal for such gigantic clubs, for such big clubs. We do know for a fact that last season they finished in second place, about 11 points behind the eventual champions in Galatasaray, which was quite. I mean, that's a huge margin. 11 points is a big margin. We do know, something closely similar that did happen in the Premier League when Liverpool won it, with Arsenal coming 10 points behind them in second place. Then you look at the disparity between the second place team in Fenerbahce and the third place team on the Turkish Pro League on that Turkish league, table, and you can't help it feel, baffled, because it's up to 20 points between some Sanspor and Fenerbahce. I hope I do pronounce that really well. Safa Ali could, correct me if I'm wrong. And then you look at teams like Besiktas. Then you look at Istanbul Basaksehir. They are at 54 points. So those did make the top 5. And really, but so Jose Mourinho wants to close that gap between Fenerbahce and Galatasaray. And we all know Galatasaray is arguably the richest team in Turkey. They often sign the better players, better than anybody else. But we also know that Fenerbahce have that capability of signing good players. Previously, they've taken Fred from Manchester United. they've taken the former Fiorentina midfielder, Sofian Amrabat. So really, I think Jose Mourinho, given that chances are increasingly looking like he will be the one staying in the job, looks to build a team that can challenge and close the gap on Galatasaray next season. And he is indeed capable as a manager. Excuse me. Given the desired resources, Mourinho can do for you anything. He can't really get the job done. I do not think I've lost great faith in him just as yet. If you do give him the necessary tools and resources, of course, he's gone to certain teams and failed to make it. But again, in some cases, he would argue it was a denial of resources. When he was at Roma, yes, they invested some money in him, but when you compare it to what other top clubs were spending, again, Roma had their financial struggles and issues to contend with, so it was nowhere near that. When you look at his time at Tottenham Hotspur, they fired him just 6 days before the Carabao Cup final of 2019. And then you look at his spell at Manchester United, that went quickly sour, but he did, win them 2 cups. That's the UEFA Europa League and the Carabao Cup, and then also finished second in one of those seasons. Remember when he was speaking about football heritage, and went on to give examples of the likes of Raheem Sterling, Sergio Kun Aguero at Manchester City, saying there had been signings from the past. So really, I do think there is still a good manager in Jose Mourinho. Anyways, thank you so much, Safa Ali, for those submissions and for that clarity. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Boss Royal, for your submission earlier on regarding Chelsea's pursuit for Benjamin Sesko. Yes, let's pick Benjamin Sesko now. Al-Hilal have entered the race to sign Benjamin Sesko, according to latest reports. And here are the reports. Of course, we all know that we've spoken about their conundrum with Viktor Osimhen, because he was their primary target. He remains their primary target, but it looks like they're not making headway. And reports do suggest that they could make a last-minute rush for Benjamin Sesko. Now, for a player who is only 22 years of age, in Benjamin Sesko, I mean, I wouldn't say I wouldn't advise, because in any case, I'm not in any position to advise him. But I think realistically, not that it is impossible, but I find it a little bit remote. The player that last summer chose to sign a new contract to stay at RB Leipzig to continue his development, that all of a sudden, 1 year later, he will be making the switch to go to the Saudi Pro League, as sweet as an offer he could receive. I find it a little far-fetched, or not far-fetched in terms of the speculation, but I find it a little hard to believe that he would then make the decision to make the switch from Germany when he has, interest from Arsenal, who are potentially the leading contenders. But we also know that Liverpool have registered interest in him, as well as Chelsea, as well as United, widely, reported on. I do not think he would take that leap, go from the German Bundesliga and suddenly make the, direct switch to the Saudi Pro League. But you can never say never when it comes to Saudi money. You never know what it could sway in a player's, a perspective. But money aside, footballing wise, I think he would rather stay in Europe. And according to reports, it is being suggested that he does prefer to remain in Europe amidst, and continue to develop amidst interest from Arsenal, who are the only team, by the way, that have made a critical contact and have started negotiations both on player side and on club side, although that deal is still a little bit difficult. And by the way, in case you're wondering, we did do a full episode on Benjamin Sesko, saying Benjamin Sesko to Arsenal, why the delay. I did explain why there's been a delay in making that switch. Because of the negotiations are a little bit complicated, as opposed to what many of us had thought they would be. Many of us thought it was a matter of, he has a release clause, go in and activate that. If you make attempts to negotiate a transfer fee and the other side rebuff it, then just go ahead and activate the release clause and then, make a deal, agree player terms and complete the signing. But it's not that simple, because Benjamin Sesko has a good relationship with RB Leipzig. So it's not like he's trying to force a move. It's not like their reputation, his reputation with the club has gone sour, that the club is desperate to get him off their hands. They know he's quite an asset, and if they are going to let go of one of their key assets, he has to fetch top dollar for them. And earlier on, there was that report that his release clause was about 80 million euros. But from what we do gather from really, really solid sources, is that sort of release clause is a bit fluid in its very nature. It's not cast in stone that it's 80 million euros, activate that, and then the player is as good as yours. So that's why the most recently reported figures range between the 80 million euros up to 100 million euros, and Arsenal are trying to negotiate that. How far are they with those negotiations? That remains to be told. But I mean, it's a conversation that keeps ongoing on that kind of front, because it's not going to go away anytime soon, really. I get the feeling that this one is going to carry on, and I also do not think that the closure of the transfer window, that's tomorrow, so that it can be reopened on June the 16th. I don't even understand why they chose to do that 5-day or 6-day close will matter. I think clubs will go ahead with their negotiations for their priority targets in as far as those respective players are concerned, and we'll do our best to keep tabs on that story, because it's I get the feeling that it could drag on a little longer than we had hoped for, especially if you're an Arsenal fan. It could drag on a little longer in that respect. And then Chelsea coming into the conversation, like I explained, it's the anticipation or the idea that he could be a cheaper option as compared to Hugo Ekitike. And in fact, according to Florian Plettenberg, he says that there's still no agreement yet between Hugo Ekitike and Chelsea. Eintracht Frankfurt have also not received an official offer from the Blues there. A participation in the Club World Cup is currently ruled out, because we all know they cannot. Not that they cannot, but it looks increasingly unlikely that they can pull off this deal in less than 24 hours that are left to the current window for those clubs, particularly that are going to be participating in the FIFA Club World Cup. And according to still Florian Plettenberg, it goes on to say, unclear how things will progress with Chelsea. A deal in the next transfer window is still possible. You see, he's trying to push it, but Liverpool remain in the race and have also held concrete talks with the players' camp, as Nunes, Jota, and Chiesa are all candidates to leave. Speaking of Federico Chiesa, that one is a candidate to leave because he says he wants to be part of, to be back to being a regular with the Italian national team, and he can't achieve that if he's spending most of the time on the bench. He says he loves being in Liverpool, it's a good place, but he needs to find a more consistent playing time. And he could achieve that by making a return to Italy, where Napoli are interested in his services. So really, that in itself is quite important to take note of. So we'll keep our eyes on that story. It's unlikely that he would return to Juventus, but at least there is a reported interest from Napoli that are willing to take him back, among other, Italian mid-table teams. I think, including Roma, has been mentioned in those circles. Was it Fiorentina? One of the other clubs mentioned in that column, but let's wait and see. But that expectation is there that he will leave. And then Diego Jota is one of those players, not that I've had any rumors linking him with a move to any particular club, but Liverpool are open to doing business for any suitors for Diego Jota. Darwin Nunes, it's the writing is as good as on the wall that they want to move him on as soon as they find a potential suitor. There's a bit of reported interest from Italy, although those interests have not been solidified with bids or offers, as well as from the Saudi Pro League. Earlier on, there had been reports that Al-Hilal could make a switch for Darwin Nunes in the work that Victor Osimhen had turned them down, and that kind of thing. And then we did have also speculation linking him with I think earlier on Juventus, although Reijnders is one of those teams that have made inquiries about conditions, about conditions for Viktor Gyokeres as well as Rasmus Højlund at Manchester United. So we'll keep our eyes on that situation as well. Chelsea also continue to push to try and sign Jamie Gittens from Borussia Dortmund. Again, they had their first bid rejected, and it was in the region of 35 million euros. Jews reported that Dortmund would want a fee between 50 to 60 million euros, and that is yet to be offered to them. Chelsea think that they could get the player at around 45. So let's wait and see and wait for their second bid if indeed it will come through for Jamie Gittens. Otherwise, as for now, nothing has come through yet. But you know that those reports won't be going away anytime soon. In as far as Jamie Gittens and Chelsea are concerned, because between the player and the club, that's Chelsea. The player wants to move to Chelsea. They've already agreed to personal terms on a 6-year contract, from what we gather. So let's wait and see. But I think that is one of the deals that will go through eventually in the course of this summer. Yes. So let's leave Chelsea at that. Anyways, before we move away from Chelsea, they continue to push to try and sign the AC Milan goalkeeper. That's Mike Mainans. And today, according to Fabrizio Romano, the two clubs were in direct contact over a potential deal, with Chelsea keen to have the player. There were reports that they had wanted him to be at least part of their FIFA Club World Cup, but Chelsea do maintain that they are not desperate to sign a goalkeeper because they still have Robert Sanchez, they do have Felipe Jorgensen, they do have Petrovic, who spent last season on loan to Strasbourg. So they are not desperate, but they do acknowledge this need, and they look at Mike Mainans as one of those top priority goalkeepers, the number one there for AC Milan, as well as the French national team, who has only a year left to his contract. Chelsea didn't make a bid in the region of 15 million euros, but that bid was rejected with the expectation that AC Milan want a fee in the region of up to anywhere between 30 to 35 million euros for the goalkeeper, who has expressed his desire to move away from AC Milan. Anyways, I will leave that at that in regards to Chelsea and their pursuits, and then move on to, overall, let's switch things to Bayern Munich, because Bayern Munich is one of those teams that could potentially threaten many deals for top clubs anywhere. And hear me on this, because on their shortlist, they have a couple of top targets who are being tapped by other clubs. Previously, we've spoken about players like Kaoru Mitoma, we've spoken about Rafael Leao. Now, as of today, 2 more names have been added on that list for their preferred choice of a left winger, and they are considering Bradley Barcola. He's now the leading top candidate, but also they have had conversations for Nico Williams from Athletic Bilbao. And like we've spoken widely, continuously before, in regards to any potential deal for Nico Williams from Athletic Bilbao, it has nothing to do with his value scores. That is openly known. Clubs are willing to pay it. That's in the region of 60 million euros. But the sticking point remains his wages, which are currently in the region of 7 to 8 million euros as net pay per season, which many clubs find as a bit of a sticking point for a 22-year-old. So, and remember, Athletic Bilbao have equally started negotiations with the players' camp over the possibility of extending his current contract and also hiking up his release clause with the club. So I think any potential suitors would rather that not happen And if they would rather that not happen, then the best time to sign him is in this transfer window. And this was an exclusive by Florian Plettenberg of Sky Germany, who says, as it remains uncertain whether a move for Bradley Barcola can be realized, FC Bayern Munich have intensified talks over Nico Williams in recent days. There have been meetings and discussions. One advantage, he has a release clause of around 60 million euros. The downside, very high wage demands. He currently earns 7 to 8 million euros in net pay per year at Atletico Bilbao. Williams can very well imagine a move to Bayern, and that's why there have been new developments recently. So again, there you have it. Like I said, during the course of the day, we did learn that Bradley Barcola had moved top of Bayern Munich's wish list for a left winger, and that was widely reported that Bayern Munich have interest in the 22-year-old. However, it is believed that if that the deal could be a little too expensive or too hard to pull off, taking him out of PSG, because PSG is one of those teams that really pay well their players. And I mean, we are talking about players that just completed winning the quadruple when they won, the French Super Cup. They went on to win the Coupe de France, the French League One, and the UEFA Champions League in the same season. Really, so that in itself makes it a little bit difficult to try and woo players away from Paris Saint-Germain as it stands in this transfer window, where Real Madrid are also circling around Gianluigi Donnarumma, who only has 1 year left to his current contract with Paris Saint-Germain. And Bradley Barcola, though I do not know, remote reports recently linking him with a potential move to Arsenal. I do not think that is really solid. He could be a player they admire, but knowing that, a deal for him could be a little too expensive. I do think that Arsenal are looking to bring in two marquee signings, a striker and a left winger, but also they want a right winger as well, a backup for Bukayo Saka. So who that player is going to be is still a big question. Now, we've spoken about their interest in Rodrigo Goes. That's widely known. But in as far as Bayern Munich is concerned, yes, they are interested in signing Nico Williams from Athletic Bilbao, as well as Bradley Barcola. Who their choice will be at the end of it all, we wait to see, because the finances I do want to understand will determine that. So I'd want to know, would you, because you're going to, let's say you get Bradley Barcola, 22 years of age as well, for 80 million euros, and then he's on 5 million euros as net pay, put him on a 5-year contract, which comes up to about 25 million euros. And then you have Nico Williams, who could come for about 60 million euros, and he wants maybe 8 million euros. Bayer put him on a 5-year contract, which adds that to, adds up to what? 40 million euros in terms of wages, 8 times 5. Overall, the Nico Williams deals would turn out to be more expensive. And that's the sticking point, really, for all his suitors. We've spoken about Chelsea's interest, Arsenal's interest, Liverpool's admiration of the player, and all those kinds of things. But there is one sticking point, that's his wages. Anyways, let's move away from Bayern Munich and their potential, pursuits or things of that nature. But one of the players that they are interested in signing in Rafael Leao is attracting interest from Al-Hilal. Yes, from Al-Hilal. So that's the other player that we ought to, try and monitor in regards to what could happen with him in the course of this transfer window. It is reported that AC Milan want up to 80 million euros, but I do not think. Okay, not that European clubs do not want to pay that much for him, really. They really do not want to. While I think Saudi Pro League clubs would have no qualms spending that much on him because, I mean, he's a player in his prime in terms of age profile, 25 years of age. We did watch him last night when he came off the bench, and he sort of became a little bit of a thorn in the foot for that, Spain side, playing as a wing back in some form of forward. But he was really, really quite athletic. His crosses, quite spot on, quite impressive. But anyway, Al-Hilal are really, really in the market for many players, and it is being reported, according to Ben Jacobs, that Nottingham Forest's Morgan Gibbs-White has been added to their list of targets among options for whom they could, following the departure of Gabi Viega to FC Porto. Understand Gibbs-White is expected to stay in Europe if he leaves Nottingham Forest this summer, but Al-Hilal have held exploratory talks dating back to May. So, I mean, it's not new. Usually, clubs want to sort of dump their foot in the water and see if a deal is possible. Then again, it was Ben Jacobs that brought, made us aware of this interest in Rafael Leao by Al Nassr. So he said, and Rafael Leao is a concrete target for Al Nassr this summer. Remember, they are also looking for winger. That's why they are also suitors for Luis Diaz from Liverpool. Milan could consider a sell for 18 million euros plus. Unclear if Leao is open to the Saudi move, but he's on Al Nassr's list alongside Luis Diaz. Liverpool already told Barcelona they do not wish to sell, but Al Nassr prepared an 85 million euro offer. So there you have it. Anyways, away from that, let's go to Manchester United. Now, there's not so much news at Manchester United as far as this evening is concerned, but the news that is there is quite critical, is quite key, is quite, one that we cannot ignore by any account or measure, because it is really, really key, because United are circling around Viktor Gyokeres. We know he's still very much in contact with his former manager in Ruben Amorim, who is eager to bring him to Old Trafford. So that has been widely reported that his former manager is still in contact with him, and we all know that Sporting Lisbon would demand a lesser, fee, which is, it is being reported that it is available for about 70 million euros. That is a payable fee. I do not think wages will be an issue for Manchester United. We all know they've paid, much bigger fees much bigger wages for lesser players. So I do not think really that would be an issue for them whatsoever. But anyways, this was revealed by Fabrizio Romano, saying Manchester United keep calling on daily basis for Viktor Gyokeres, are still on their list. Juventus and Al-Hilal have also called in the last 48 hours to be informed on the situation after Arsenal contacts ongoing since May, but with Sesko advancing. That is according to Fabrizio Romano. That's according to Fabrizio Romano. So United do really, really have interest in the player. I think, again, if they are looking for a prime striker, you remember when I was speaking and I said Manchester United missing out on Liam Delap was some form of a blessing in disguise, because then it allows them to go for a prime striker like Viktor Gyokeres, who could be then help ease the burden of the likes of Rasmus Højlund, Joshua Zirkzee, all who have been sort of struggling in their search for goals at Manchester United. So Manchester United don't need an experienced player who could, come and change their fortunes. They already signed Matthias Cunha, and they're in pursuit for Brian Mbeumo from Brentford. And if that deal does go through, then United could have some really, really strong firepower on their hands. This is an update again about Benjamin Sesko in regards to a potential move to the Saudi Pro League. This is Fabrizio Romano says, and Saudi Pro League clubs have approached Benjamin Sesko in recent hours with important proposals. Understand Sesko's priority is to continue in Europe at this stage, with talks to follow in the next days. And of course, the first question for under there was, what's really delaying Arsenal? I think for those of you that are looking for the similar answer of what is delaying Arsenal, you could as well go and recommend a video to them, and where we did explain why there has been a delay in Arsenal's pursuit for Benjamin Sesko. So let's wait and see. But we do expect that deal to move forward in the coming days. Not that it will be closed, but negotiations between the two clubs will continue. But there it is, Fabrizio Romano, a sort of a further highlighting all those reports that we did just confirm in regards to the interest of Viktor Gyokeres in being linked with a move to the Saudi Pro League. Apologies, I was just responding to the person who was asking why the delay in regards to Arsenal, and I wanted to share that information with him, why there is indeed a delay. Anyways, the other key news in the course of today is regarding Thomas Frank, because Tottenham did make contact with Brentford as Thomas Frank nears his appointment as the new Tottenham manager, replacing a sacked Ange Postecoglou, the 51-year-old Danish manager who has been at Brentford, as Brentford is, boss for the last 6 years and 8 months, has been quite crucial to their success, earning promotion to the Premier League, as well as keeping them in the Premier League for the last 4 seasons. He did join Brentford back in December 2016. He joined them as an assistant coach to Mike Dean. Is it? No. Not Mike Dean. Not Mike Dean. Apologies. The former Aston, the manager that was formerly with I think the name eludes me. The name eludes me. But let me look up that name in just a bit, and I find it, because he was an assistant to a manager then. Yes, to Dean Smith. Yes, the name I was looking for was Dean Smith, not Mike Dean. It was Dean Smith. He was an assistant to Dean Smith. He joined them as an assistant to Dean Smith in December 2016. So then he was later on appointed full manager or head coach in October 16, 2018. So that's when he assumed the role of head coach at the club, and he's since been at the helm of that club and has done quite a tremendous job. That's why, speaking of his pending move to Tottenham Hotspur, which by the way, according to David Ornstein, that Tottenham hope to agree a deal in the next 48 hours. Terms in place for Thomas Frank is already agreed to join Tottenham Hotspur. In fact, according to TalkSport, the talks currently ongoing are for his backroom staff, who would be his assistants, and things of that nature. Usually, managers do come with a whole host of assistant managers when they are starting out these jobs. First team coach, second, third, goalkeeping coach, and etc. These days, they are throw-in coaches, they're physical, they're physios, they're psychologists, and then of course some are permanent staff to the club. Maybe the masseuse, sometimes the the physios, the medical team. Those are usually permanent, but usually a new manager walks in with at least 4 to 5 members of his own coaching staff. So I will keep eyes peeled to that. But he also did continue to confirm that healthy relations between clubs for talks over a 10 million release clause there plus Brentford staff. Now, again, when we were speaking about Thomas Frank earlier on, I was telling you that according to the Daily Mirror, according to the Mirror, they did report that Tottenham would need to pay Brentford a fee in the region of £10 million as the release clause or the exit clause for Thomas Frank from Brentford. So that's part of the negotiations that are ongoing between Tottenham and Brentford. But as far as personal terms are concerned between Thomas Frank and Tottenham, those are as good as done from what we do gather. Now, his upcoming move to Tottenham Hotspurs has cast a bit of doubt over Bryan Mbeumo's potential move to Manchester United. We do know that Manchester United did submit a second bid for Bryan Mbeumo. The Brentford are yet to respond on that, or we're yet to hear what the feedback really is. We know it's in the excess of £60 million, but with Thomas Frank possibly headed to Tottenham Hotspurs, there are reports that he would want to go with Bryan Mbeumo to Tottenham Hotspurs, and we do know that Tottenham Hotspurs were already interested in his services before they did come out publicly, or at least to recent reports about their interest in Thomas Frank. So I think there's really some concreteness to that. But that story, I think, was brought to us by Darren Lewis with the Mirror, their assistant editor at the Mirror. So really another key situation to really keep our eyes on, to try and follow and see where that conversation does lead until as the transfer window goes on. But we do expect that in the next 48 hours or so, a deal would have been completed for Thomas Frank or so. Anyways, let's wait and see how everything does, proceed on that end. Then about Martin Zubimendi, for those of you that are interested in knowing, is most of the reports say that all the paperwork were signed, that Arsenal have binding agreements already signed between Real Sociedad and Martin Zubimendi, that again, the player is just waiting to make the move there and do his medicals and complete his move to Arsenal. And then the other key news is regarding, guys, I hope you can still hear me. I hope we still have a volume. Yes, I will still have. Then the other news regarding Chelsea is that they did confirm Mamadou Sarr joining Chelsea from Strasbourg on a deal valid until June 2033. That's what 8 years, 8-year contract, and deal done in time for the FIFA Club World Cup. That's Mamadou Sarr from Strasbourg. Now, Chelsea have a good relationship with Strasbourg because two of their players, in Andre Santos and Dejan Petrovic, were on. And Petrovic, the goalkeeper, were on loan to Strasbourg last season. Really, so the two have a good relationship in that regard, and so I'm not surprised that they've made this kind of move. Then Chelsea are also interested in their striker, that is Emmanuel Emega, who they want to sign again from Strasbourg. But Mamadou Sarr is a French, is a French centre back, only at 20 years. No, actually 19 years of age. He's 19 years of age because he was born on August 2005. So he will be turning 20 later this year. He just completed that move from Strasbourg to Chelsea, and he will be part of Chelsea's team that goes for that he goes to the FIFA Club World Cup. So Sarr has also played under the French under-20 internationals and has been capped at various youth levels. Yeah, his father is Pape Sarr, a former Senegalese international. What I do not know is whether he has any relationship with Pape Matsar. Yes, Pape Matsar of Tottenham Hotspurs. Yeah, we need to really find out on that with about Pape Matsa. Pape, is it Pape or Pape? Pape Matsa, I think. Yes. So, anyways, that's the other Chelsea. For you know for that's the other news for Chelsea. But there's no known relationship between Pape Matassa of Tottenham Hotspur and Pape and Mamadou Sarr here of Chelsea, who they've just signed from Strasbourg. Only 19 years of age, very young defender, really a French international there. Although his father is Senegalese, but he has been playing for French youth teams and that kind of thing. So that's quite good news for Chelsea. He joins Liam Delap, who was earlier on signed, the first striker signed from Ipswich Town. And then let's not forget Dario Esugo, who they had signed in January but left him on loan at Las Palmas. So that holding midfielder in Dario Esugo has also since joined Chelsea. So Chelsea are already they're in good books. They've made the right moves, really. They've made the right moves. We're just waiting on that. Then Alson Ramsey-Baker did speak about his future with Liverpool, and he says he still has 1 year of contract left to it, and the club does have the option to extend it for a further year to make it 2 years. So he's not under any form of panic whatsoever. He's really focused. And then Frankie de Jong does think that Barcelona will extend his contract, but he says you never know. They could decide otherwise, but that is being assessed. And then Aaron Ramsey will sign as a new Pumas player in the next days, ready for a new chapter in Mexico. I mean, he's been at Cardiff City, and in fact, at the end of the season, he was the player coach. He was the player coach at Cardiff City, but now he chooses to move to Mexico. Looks like his footballing chapter does still continue. And then we await to see who Italy will appoint as their new head coach in the aftermath of sacking Luciano Spalletti from the job because they did fire him after that defeat to Norway. And then according to Fabrizio Romano, Leroy Sané is expected to be part of Bayern Munich's squad for the FIFA Club World Cup. His future is not clear yet, with several approaches and proposals on table, including a new deal from Bayern Munich. I remember Fenerbahce, Tottenham Hotspurs are among the clubs that are interested in his services. Even Arsenal reportedly inquired about his availability as a free agent. If he doesn't really put pen to paper on a new contract at FC Bayern Munich. Then Fabian Ruiz is among top targets on the list for Al Nassr this summer, as the club plans to bring in a new midfielder. Official proposal, no official proposal so far. He's a key player for PSG, as they want to keep him, and Luis Enrique considers him a crucial part of the team. So the decision will be up to Fabian Ruiz to decide whether he quits PSG and he goes on to the Saudi Pro League or otherwise. Anyways, let's wait and see for that and more. It's been 1 hour of doing this. It's always a pleasure having you guys join me on these broadcasts. I think it's midnight. It's time for us to, kiss it goodbye. We really discussed most of the reports, the rumors, the speculation, and much more. We do know that Newcastle want to sign Anthony Elanga from Nottingham Forest. They did try in January, they failed. So they are back in that race. They want to sign him. Inter Milan hold interest in Rasmus Højlund. That has been widely spoken about. And then we do know about some Saudi pro leagues are looking to sign Jadon Sancho from Manchester United, and Al-Hilal is one of those teams. So then the Italian national team are apparently considering giving the job to Claudio Ranieri. So let's wait and see if those reports are in any bread concrete. Otherwise, it's been a pleasure having you. Thank you for always being with us. But before I let you go, I would like to let you know that if you are interested in learning digital skills like coding, like cybersecurity, like web design, then do not hesitate to check out our partners from Able State. They are based in Kansanga, Kampala, Uganda, but they do offer both in-person and online, training sessions as well as career guidance, and they do help their trainees in the aftermath to find jobs in the dynamic digital world. Good evening, my brother Nkosi. How are you doing? How has been your day? Do let I think I need to refresh my screen in regards to my messages because I did miss this one. Good evening, Kosi. How are you doing? How has your Monday been? But I want to say thank you to Andan, Family Challenges, Boss Royal, Safa Ali, and all the usual suspects of this channel, Prince Kosi, John Joseph, Ahmad Septa from Indonesia. Of course, I do wish all Indonesians the best of luck in their game against Japan. That is in the FIFA World Cup qualifiers. We wish you the very best of luck in your endeavors. So that game is on. That's on June the 10th. If my timelines are really spot on, then anyways, guys, allow me to wish you a wonderful rest of the night. It's been a pleasure having you for tonight's broadcast. Let's do this tomorrow morning as well as in the evening. But thank you so much for the love and support. Much appreciated. Do not forget to always like, comment, and share our broadcasts, our videos that we do put out there. We do have one on Benjamin Sesko to Arsenal. We did make our assessment on that Arsenal squad. We did tell you why we think or why I think Manchester City could be unstoppable next season, given the kinds of moves they are making. And like we've seen here, Rayan Ait-Nouri is a done deal. Tijjani Reijnders is a done deal. Cherki is joining. So again, keep your eyes peeled to that. And then we'll be looking to do more things. And we'll be looking at Manchester United. We're looking to do an episode of Manchester United in the work of their interest in Bryan Mbeumo as well as Viktor Gyokeres. Otherwise, it's been a pleasure having you. Unless there's something that I've missed, I do not think so. You can alert me to that news as well. But I want to wish you a blessed evening and a wonderful rest of the night. Bye-bye, and I'll see you tomorrow. Stay blessed.